Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to a new episode of the LDM show. Today's show's very, very special. We have someone with us who's going to explain things related to biology and reflections about this and creation and these sort of things. Now, we actually have Salman Butt on the show. Assalamu alaikum. How are you doing, bro? You good?
Alhamdulillah.
Very good. So, Salman, to start off with, could you give a bit of your academic background?
Well, my PhD was in photosynthesis. I
Okay.
was researching basically one enzyme in photosynthesis called rubisco.
Okay, so just one enzyme.
Yeah.
That's what your whole...
It's pretty good enzyme.
Okay, so you're telling me that this whole book, that is your dissertation,
Yeah.
right? This is just on one enzyme.
Yeah.
Okay, that's amazing. So today we were going to speak about something related to creation and reflections in regards to design and biology. So take it away.
The thing I wanted to talk about today was from the angle of how everything is connected and interdependent on everything else in this creation. The enzyme that I carried my research out on, it's actually responsible for fixing atmospheric carbon dioxide into basically life, into the plant. So what that means is pretty much every single carbon atom in our bodies, in our clothes, in our food, once went through this enzyme.
Wow.
You know, carbon dioxide was floating around in the air. The plant, because of photosynthesis, went through this enzyme, got incorporated into, longer chain carbon molecules. It was eaten by animals, and we ate the animals, and hey presto,
Yeah, okay.
here we are.
So it's gone through the whole system.
Yeah, subhanallah.
So, I mean, there's many people out there, whenever we speak about anything related to biology, almost knee-jerk reaction is, well, evolution is the best explanation for that. You don't need God for anything that we reflect about in terms of biology and biological systems. So what would your response to be to, knee-jerk reactions like that?
When it comes to talking about evolution and then making a statement about God or a creator, then this is something that annoys me deeply. It's science. This is this enterprise that we've spent years studying and loving and working in, and it's being hijacked by people with a particular religious or theological agenda, whether it be Christian, atheist, or even some Muslims. So to hijack a particular branch of science or some science research or a theory or something, to then make a claim about God, which is it's not overlapping in this kind of branch of knowledge, branch of research. It's very disingenuous.
Okay, so what would you say to someone like, for instance, I asked this once time. I was in a internet cafe, and there's a guy who he had I wasn't really sure what his sort of beliefs were, so I was just sort of speaking to him about religion, I guess. So I said, do you believe in God? And he said, I believe in science. So what would your sort of reaction to that be, coming from a science background?
I mean, again, it's no offense to anyone who might think along these lines, but it's a very dangerous mistake to conflate the two things. It's like me saying, I don't support Arsenal. I like Coca-Cola.
Okay, yeah.
It's completely two.
One's football,
it's a non sequitur.
yeah.
One talking about one doesn't necessarily justify the conclusion that you draw from it. And if we don't highlight or identify that fallacy in that process, it's just going to be assumed to be correct, and it's a big mistake.
Okay, so like we have Richard Dawkins' book, The God Delusion, right? And he's obviously an evolutionary biologist, and his main sort of central argument is Darwinian evolution is the best explanation of the sort of design in us, right? And he concludes from there that basically, therefore, it's improbable that there is a creator. And he's obviously got other reasons also why he doesn't believe in God, but evolution for him, is something which makes him into an intellectually satisfied atheist. right? It's intellectually satisfying. And there's a bit of a conflation of the how and the why. So could you elaborate on this in terms of science and theology?
Well, Richard Dawkins, or indeed anyone else, is perfectly entitled to have their beliefs about one way or another about God. That's a completely different discussion. I mean, if you're talking about evolution, this happened. This would have happened billions of years after the creation of the universe in the first place. So, talking about believing in evolution instead of believing in a creator is problematic from a few different angles. One is the person who does so presumes a very kind of straw man argument of the existence of God, to say, I don't know why something happens, therefore God did it. You know, if somebody presumes that or sets up that argument, it's extremely easy to, to break it, and in doing so, they provide proof for themselves to believe what they want.
Okay.
So, I mean, it boils down to the fact that they're completely non-overlapping
areas.
Yeah, phenomena.
I mean, one of the examples I was speaking to you earlier about this earlier during the week was something like a car. If you can explain how a car works in terms of combustion, where the oil's going, and all the rest of the things, that explains the how, which is science, what you studied, right? And the why is who designed the car. Where did the car come from? And it's the same thing with biological systems and science in general. What would you say about in the last couple of years, probably the last couple of decades, it's almost become science has almost become synonymous with atheism within the Western world. I mean, how has this trend been? I mean, how do you see it?
I mean, this is always a kind of a mild annoyance that's always in the background, that some people they take science, which is a noble enterprise, which everybody is involved with. Everyone realizes its remit and its where it exists and where it doesn't exist, and they hijack it and they take it and use it to support their particular theological beliefs, either about atheism or theism or one way or another. And like I said, Muslims aren't saved from this mistake. Some Muslims do fall into that mistake as well, but the core problem here is just mixing up one type of explanation of a question, an answer to the question why or how, with a different example. Like they give the example, like you give the example of the car. I would say, even if you ask the question why, the answer can take many forms, and answering it in one way doesn't preclude other answers being correct. Exactly. So one could ask, why is the water boiling? And you can describe why it's boiling, because the average energy of the molecules is high enough to escape in the liquid phase. Or you could equally say, why is it boiling? Because I want a cup of tea.
I mean, there's a why behind it, there's a designer behind it.
So, I mean, using science or using evolution or whatever to prove atheism is like saying, well, the water's not boiling because you want a cup of tea. It's actually boiling because, the molecules have enough energy to escape the liquid phase. That's
really, really good. Because we're running out of time and I'm getting signals I need to end the show, thank you so much. We're going to have you in future shows, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.